AirDog, the original fuel air separation system. Visit us online at pureflowairdog.com. Alright, let's see what we have in this AirDog II-4G DF165 kit for a 2006 Duramax. In one bag you'll have all your paperwork. Your paperwork includes your AirDog sticker, your MPT warning sheet. You want to be sure to lubricate the threads, the MPT threads, to be sure not to damage the base when you install them. You have your detailed installation directions. And your warranty registration card. This is very important. You must fill this out with your serial number and your information and send it in to us in order to receive the lifetime warranty. The kit also comes with a complete wiring harness. It also comes with a suction hose, pressure hose, and return hose. You have your hardware box. This hardware box includes your filler neck tee with 2 hose clamps, a zip tie bundle, a hardware bag, a fittings and splice bag, a spacer block, a mounting bracket, and an O-ring service kit. The kit also includes your composite mounting plates, front and rear, and your AirDog II-4G 165 pump assembly, which includes your water separator and your 2-micron fuel filter. Tools needed for this installation are a 7/16 wrench, 1/2 inch wrench, 9/16 wrench, 5/8 wrench, 3/4 wrench, 10mm wrench, 3/16 Allen wrench, 1/2 inch fuel line disconnect tool, flathead screwdriver, knife, and pliers. First step is to install your MPT fittings into the base. You will need a 3/4 inch wrench and a 5/8 inch wrench. As stated in the MPT warning sheet, lubricate the MPT threads on the fitting with motor oil or anti-seize. This will keep threads from galling in the base when being installed. Failure to do so will result in damaged or stripped out threads. Despite what our competitors say, Teflon tape is not needed. Teflon tape will break down with diesel fuel and could get into the pump and cause issues. Pipe threads are self-sealing and if tightened properly will not leak. We will install the fuel in or suction side fitting first. This is a 3/8 NPT thread to a 1/2 inch male quick connect fitting. Tighten with a 3/4 inch wrench. Now we will install the return fitting and pressure or engine fitting. The return fitting is the 1/8 NPT thread that again must be oiled to prevent galling. It is installed with a 5/8 inch wrench. Now we will install the pressure or engine fitting in the same manner as the previously installed suction or fuel end fitting. Again, lubricate the threads and tighten with a 3/4 inch wrench. Next, we will mount the AirDog assembly to the mounting bracket using the 1 1/4 inch long, 1/4 inch by 20 cap screws, and the associated lock washers and nuts from the hardware kit. Take note, this is the correct way to orient your mounting bracket in relation to the AirDog. Do not install the bracket upside down or it will be difficult to access your fittings should you ever need to service the pump. Now you can mount the bracket to the AirDog with the 1/4 by 20 cap screws, lock washers, and nuts. You will need a 3/16 Allen for the cap screws and a 7/16 wrench for the nuts. Tighten until snug. You can remove the filters to gain better access to the nuts. Again, use a 7/16 wrench and a 3/16 Allen to tighten down the mounting bolts. Next, install the spacer and one of the mounting plates to the mounting bracket using the 5/16 18 thread 3-inch long flat socket head cap screws and 5/16 18 thread nuts and lock washers. Flip the pump on its back and line up the spacer block and mounting plate. Drop the cap screws into place and flip the pump back over, holding the cap screws in place so they do not fall out. Now install the lock washers and nuts and hand tighten. Now use a 3/16 Allen and 1/2 inch wrench to tighten these cap screws. Next, mount the AirDog to the frame of the truck using the 3/8 16 thread by 4 inch long bolts and associated lock washers and nuts that are included in the bolt kit. We recommend the AirDog to be mounted to the inside of the frame rail. The customer requested that it would be mounted to the outside. This can be done, but the suction and return lines will be connected opposite to where they were intended, as you will see later in this video. Install the mounting plate bolts and install the lock washers and nuts on those bolts. Tighten by hand first. Once the pump is in the desired position, tighten the nuts on the bolts using a pair of 9/16 wrenches. Tighten until snug. Next, remove the factory fuel supply line from the fuel tank suction tube. Place the 1/2 inch fuel line disconnect tool around the fuel line and press into the quick connect fitting to release the locks. Carefully pull back the quick connect fitting and fuel line from the fuel tank suction fitting. The disconnect tool can be purchased from your local auto parts store. This tool is not included in the kit. Now trace the flexible line that you just disconnected back to the tank and disconnect the end on the fuel module using the 1/2 inch fuel line disconnect tool. Once that end is disconnected, remove the flexible line. Install one end of the suction line to the AirDog by pushing the female quick connect end into the male fitting in the base. This port is labeled fuel in. You will hear it click once properly connected. Now route your suction line from the AirDog up over the tank and to the fuel module. Remember to route the line away from any moving parts such as the drive shaft or any hot parts such as the exhaust. Once the suction line is properly routed, push the other female quick connect end onto the male quick connect fitting on the fuel module. Again, you will hear a click when properly connected. Next, we will install the filler neck tee. This is where the return from the AirDog will connect. Start by cutting the rubber filler neck in two with a knife. Install the filler neck tee into the filler neck. Be sure to point the arrow on the tee towards the tank. Put the hose clamps on the filler neck before the tee is pushed in. Now tighten the hose clamp to the flathead screwdriver or socket of the appropriate size. Next, install the return line. Connect the small female end of the hose onto the male quick connect return fitting on the pump. As you can see, we have a 90-degree hose needing to go straight. That is because the pump is mounted to the outside of the frame and is backwards. Route the return line away from any hot or moving parts and connect it to the previously installed filler neck tee. Once again, you will hear it click once properly installed. Now install the supply line. Connect one of the female quick connect ends on the fitting in the port labeled engine. You will hear it click when properly connected. Route the supply line to the factory fuel line fitting in front of the fuel tank. Route the line away from any moving or hot parts. Once routed, connect the other female quick connect end to the factory fuel line. Once again, you will hear it click when properly connected. Once all the lines are hooked up, there are two options. One option is to coil the excess fuel line and zip tie it. The other option is to use the fuel line splices included in the fitting bag to cut the excess fuel line out. We opted for the latter as it makes for a much cleaner looking install. Use oil to lubricate the splice to make pressing them in easier. Now install the fuel filters. Use oil to lubricate the filter seals. We recommend filling the water separator with diesel before install to help prime the pump. Now on to the wiring harness. Route the long portion of the harness that has the Deutsch 2-pin connector down the firewall so that it can be ran along the frame to the AirDog. Remove the plastic housing cover around the fuse box. Find a mini fuse location that is 12 volt hot with the key in the on position. The chart on the back of the cover will help you find a suitable location. We use the TBC Ignition 1 slot. Remove the selected fuse with a pair of pliers. Be sure to install that removed fuse back into the fuse tap we supply. The fuse tap should have both fuse spots filled. Install the red trigger wire with the mini fuse tap to the selected slot. Reinstall the fuse box cover. Find a location to secure the relay to the vehicle. We found a ground location on the firewall that served this purpose nicely. We used a 10mm wrench to remove the nut, install the relay, and tighten the nut. We found our eye connectors to be too small to hook up to the battery terminals. We hooked the negative to a ground found on the fender, and the positive to a positive junction box. Now run the pump connector under the truck along the frame back to the pump. Be sure not to route it near any moving or hot parts. Once routed, plug the connector into the pump. You'll hear it click once properly connected. Secure the newly routed harness under the truck with the supplied zip ties. It's off right now. Try it. This has been a genuine Pure Flow AirDog production.